Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Jamie Abu Awad. Abu Awad was shot and killed on April 19, 2012 in the 800 block of West 81st Street in the Vermont Knolls neighborhood of South LA, according to LA County coroner records. Jesus Mendez was subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. On the morning of April 19, 2012, police officers responding to a call found the body of the victim Jamie Abu Awad outside his SUV parked on West 81st Street in LA. Abu Awad died of multiple gunshot wounds. He was in the business of buying gold. He employed two women to pass out his business cards on the street and house to house in various LA neighborhoods. Abu Awad would respond to telephone calls from potential sellers of gold by immediately driving to meet them. He would pay cash for the gold he bought. A resident of West 81st Street testified at trial that he noticed a young man sitting on the wall outside his residence at approximately 11 a.m. on the day of the shooting. The resident removed his trash cans from the street and went back inside his home. Later, he looked outside and saw the young man talking on the phone. The resident went back inside and shortly thereafter heard 2 or 3 gunshots in rapid succession. He went outside and saw Abu Awad lying on the ground. The resident described the young man he had seen on the wall as being dark-skinned, slender, and having a tattoo on his right cheek. He identified the defendant as this man in a photographic lineup at trial. One of Abu Awad's employees testified that she and her co-worker often distributed cards in the neighborhood of West 81st Street where Abu Awad was shot. Detectives showed her a photographic lineup and she selected the defendant's picture as someone she had recognized. She remembered seeing the defendant on West 82nd Street, almost in the location where the shooting occurred. She saw her co-worker give him a business card and speak with him. Investigating detectives arrived at the shooting scene to find the SUV's motor running. The driver's side and passenger side doors were open. Officers had found 2 cell phones nearby in an alley. One was the victim's and the other was found to belong to an individual who had lost his cell phone some days before. The individual was handicapped and had mental challenges. His phone had been used to call Abu Awad 4 times. Police looked at other numbers called on the cell phone and traced some calls to a young girl who was the sister of the defendant's girlfriend. She showed police some pictures on another cell phone. One of the photographs was of the defendant. She identified the defendant who lived on West 80th Street to police. The defendant was brought to the police station for an interview. Detectives spoke to the defendant and left him alone for a time. The defendant subsequently asked to speak to detectives. This interview was recorded and played at trial. He told detectives, "I did it." He said it was a robbery gone bad. He had telephoned Abu Awad and set him up. The defendant had been laid off and wanted the money. He robbed Abu Awad at gunpoint, and Abu Awad tried to grab the gun, so the defendant started shooting. He shot 3 times and made off with $300 and the victim's phone. The defendant said he sold the gun. He told detectives, "I knew you guys had me. It was just a matter of time." He said it just don't feel good inside afterwards since he had a family. It's not the same. Detective John Ferreira testified that he and his partner, Detective Myra Kellum, had previously presented the defendant with a theme or scenario about a robbery gone bad and defendant's need for money. They had decided beforehand to say this as an interview strategy. Detective Ferreira had the defendant turn over his shoes at the interview to compare them to a shoe print found on the discarded cell phone in the alley. The pattern was a match according to Detective Ferreira's lay opinion. Afterwards, Detective Ferreira placed the defendant in a cell with an informant in order to make sure that defendant's statements were truthful. Their conversation was recorded and played for the jury. The informant, called Mr. Johnson, asked the defendant where he was from. Defendant's reply was inaudible, but Johnson replied F-13s. Defendant then asked Johnson where he was from, and Johnson replied 6 Deuce Brims. When asked what he had done, defendant said, "Basically, I pled guilty to this shit." When asked if he was by himself, defendant said he was. He said he used a .380 caliber gun. He told Johnson the detectives brought his baby mama in and she was crying. She said, "They told me they're gonna take the kids away." When asked if the police had him for robbery, murder, or just murder, defendant said he didn't know. Defendant said he hoped to get a deal. He was just doing this shit to feed his children. He hoped to get out when he was like 45. When asked how he felt about what happened, he replied he just didn't think about it. Following the trial, the jury found defendant Jesus Mendez guilty of first-degree murder and second-degree robbery. In both counts, the jury found defendant personally used and discharged a firearm causing death. The jury also found defendant committed the murder while engaged in the commission of a robbery. The court sentenced defendant to life without the possibility of parole, plus a consecutive term of 25 years to life for the firearm enhancement. Jamie Abu Awad was 27 years old at the time of death.